Hello, everybody, again. I hope everybody had a great week. We're excited to get back into this. Tonight we're going to discuss Chapter 6 of The Heritage of the Ultimate Law of Life. Last week, I began by answering a question from our good friend, Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee took me up on the request to say, hey, if you got more questions or you need more clarity, you want me to make any more comments, I will, just let me know. He asked several things. I'm not going to get to that on the front end. If I have time tonight at the end, I'll try and get to Mr. Lee's additional questions. In the meantime, we're going to start on page 51. We're going to go ahead and focus on getting this done first. All right? So everybody's with me? Yeah. Chapter 6, page 51 of The Heritage of the Ultimate Law of Life and Death by Saku Ikeda's lecture series. All right. Starting from the very top on page 51. It says, "The present holds the key to eternal victory." Why is that title? Why did they say? Why does he put that title there? What's that mean? What's the point of that statement? The present holds the key to eternal victory. What's significant about the present?
Because it's now.
Yeah, it's now, but why is that the key?
Only moment that exists.
It's the only moment that exists. That's the point. The present is the only moment that exists. Okay? He says, the present holds the key to eternal victory. So why is that the case?
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now. But this moment is the only moment that you actually express Buddhahood, right? So this is really talking about the fact that if in a single moment of life you're able to initiate the process of awakening your Buddha nature. Do you all understand what I'm saying? That's not just knowledge. That's actually becoming the Buddha in your present form. Then you will in every subsequent lifetime, right? That's the reference to eternal victory, right? In every lifetime will be the victorious life of the Buddha.
Yes.
Okay? So that's why the present holds the key, because if you look at it as something that you will aspire to attain in the future, you're never guaranteed that you'll get to that moment. If you don't look at it as this moment constantly, this moment constantly, this moment, you're missing the point. Okay, this isn't about you someday. This is how you actually are right now, but haven't taken the time or made the effort to reveal it. Okay, you're not doing the practice that reveals it. He says below that, he says, the spirit that now, and he's got a capital N-O-W, is the last moment of one's life, assures a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. So what's the significance of that statement? A spirit that now is the last moment of one's life assures a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. What have we been being encouraged by this Gosho and then by the lecture from President Ikeda to keep in mind and remember about the Daishonin's teachings? This is, now you're looking at chapter 8, chapter 6. There you go. Chapter 6 there. All right. So what is the point that he's been making? Can anybody give me any input on this? The spirit that now is the last moment of one's life assures. What does assure mean? These guarantees. It's going to definitely happen. A correct and steadfast moment of. Okay, so here's the whole point. What's the most important thing about any given lifetime? The last moment of your life. Okay, that's what our whole practice, our whole point of attaining Buddhahood in your present form is, to allow you to enter this state of transition, which is called death. We refer to it as death. Okay, in the manner that it will be sustained in every lifetime as a recitation of the Buddha nature. You'll become the Buddha in every lifetime, right? So he says, and so what's the key to make that happen? That's what this whole lecture is about, is that last moment of life. That assurance, that understanding, the faith that's required for that moment to be that way. The teaching that teaches the moment to be that way. The teaching that teaches how to approach that moment that will determine everything. This is the most important teaching. Okay? That's why it's the ultimate law of life and death. Because if you follow this law and understand and perceive it correctly, you can utilize it to your benefit eternally. If you don't, you slough through it, you can miss this shot. You can practice in your lifetime, not meet your last moment of life because you never prepared for it, because you never studied, you never understood that this was coming, and this was the whole point of you practicing all those years. Okay? You thought it was just to get benefits.
Right.
It was the prayer answering machine. No, the prayer that you want answered is Buddhahood, because that prayer lasts forever. Okay? The answer to that prayer lasts forever. So he says, the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life assures a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. What's that basically saying then? That moment by moment, day to day, we have to have this attitude that the key is that we should be developing our faith and our understanding of the teaching, that now we understand that the teaching is saying that that last moment is an important thing and we should be thinking about it. Do you think that for my 46 years I've been thinking about when I'm going to die? No. Have I been thinking about it for the last few? Absolutely. What changed? My age, my circumstance, and certainly my level of wisdom. My level of faith has continued to grow throughout my 46 years of practice. Okay, that's what allows me to think naturally the way President Ikeda is encouraging us to, and the Daishonin has already left a teaching for us to. But my understanding came from my life. I'd already read all this. Yes, the basis that it sprang from, but it came from my understanding as I grew as a person. Do you understand what? These are all words until you utilize practice to express that faith. We can talk about faith and people think faith is believing. No, faith is doing. It's not believing. Faith is not understanding either. Faith is doing. Action, action, action. Jigyo Keita, right? So he's saying, living your life in this state. And what is this state? That's what we're going to read about. That's what we're going to read, what he's saying we should be trying to prepare for ourselves for. And what that is a steadfast faith that your relationship with the Gohonzon is that every once in a while, it's continuous. Because the Gohonzon is no longer a piece of paper in the box. The Gohonzon is your life. Do you understand? And each moment of your life, no matter where you are, whatever you're doing, you're manifesting constantly the reality and the understanding, perceiving the truth that I could die anytime. Nothing is guaranteed. How is my life set right now? Am I happy with it? Or do I feel I still need things that I need to change or I need to do or whatever? Each individual has to deal with those circumstances and that list of whatever feelings. That's personal. There's no master issue there. Okay, that was one of the things that Mr. Lee asked about was Sangye. Well, I'll get into that at the end of the apology. But you do understand that that's what he's talking about. He's saying, now we should all aspire to be prepared for the fact and the truth and the reality that our life could end at any moment. Suffer what there is to suffer, enjoy what there is to enjoy, regard both suffering and joy as facts of life, and keep chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo no matter what, right? Okay, so now going into the Gosho after I just prefaced it with that. Those two sentences made all that conversation. Here we go. Page 51. This is from the Gosho. The Daishonin continues. For one who summons up one's faith and chants Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with the profound insight that now is the last moment of one's life, the sutra proclaims, when the lives of these persons come to an end, they will be received into the hands of 1,000 Buddhas who will free them from all fear and keep them from falling into the evil paths of existence. How can we possibly hold back our tears at the inexpressible joy of knowing that only not just one or two, not just 100 or 200, but as many as 1,000 Buddhas will come to greet us with open arms? Concerning one who disbelieves the Lotus Sutra, because the sutra states when his life comes to an end, he will enter the Avicii hell. The wardens of hell will surely come for one and take one away by the hands. How pitiful! The 10 kings of the world of the dead will then pass judgment, and the heavenly messengers who have been with one since birth will berate one for one's evil deeds. Think of those 1,000 Buddhas extending their hands to all of Nichiren's disciples and lay supporters who chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo as melons or moonflowers extending their slender vines. And of course, we're reading from a Gosho that was written 700 years ago. The basis of everybody's perspective and understanding was not modern science and okay, so when he conveys all this stuff about wardens of hell and devils and all that stuff, do understand that those are expressions of reality that there was no other way to actually express. We're not talking about deities, as is explained over and over in the sutras. All right? So, continuing. In this writing, Nichiren, is everybody clear? All right. In this writing, going on with President Keita's lecture now, in this writing, Nichiren Daishonin clarifies the most essential point in embracing Myoho Renge-kyo, the ultimate law of life and death, emphasizing that it lies in practicing with the ultimate spirit of faith that now is the last moment of one's life. Okay, let me go back and read that again. What did he just say? What did Daisaku Ikeda just say? He just declared this the essential, the most essential point of all of Nichiren's teachings. All right? Because it is. Your moment of death is the reason you practice. Okay? In this writing, let me start again. Nichiren Daishonin, he says, Nichiren qualified this, clarifies the most essential point in embracing Myoho Renge-kyo, the ultimate law of life and death, emphasizing that it lies in practicing with the ultimate spirit of faith. So what is this? This thing that I'm talking about now is the last moment of my life? What is that? That's a spirit of faith. Okay, that's an expression of your profound, deep faith in the teaching that Nichiren has left. All right? That now is the last moment of life, of one's life. When, with this spirit, we embrace the mystic law, we can freely reveal in our lives the true aspect of life and death, which Nichiren explains in this writing as life and death as functions of Myoho Renge-kyo. Everybody's with what he's saying, right? He says, with this spirit, you can achieve Buddhahood in your present form. In the absence of this spirit, you may not. Because at the moment of death, you may not have prepared yourself well enough and you may be freaking out and have hiccups and giggles. This is the thing. This being prepared now is the last moment of my life on a daily basis, on a moment-to-moment basis. What is the purpose of that? To just be overridden with the sense of, oh, death is near? No. It's to keep our mind straight about what's important about being the Buddha in our present form. All right? So he's saying, when we do that, we are the Buddha in our present form. When we do that, we can freely reveal in our lives the true aspect of life and death. And we reveal it for what purpose? For the sake of ourselves, okay? Because we're going to enter into a circumstance that's going to lead to another lifetime, and this is the key point for the entrance into that circumstance. But more importantly, as Buddhists, why do we live our lives? To be living examples of the truth and the power of the teaching, okay? So that's the other aspect. It's for others. It's important for us to actually, if we've achieved this at the moment of death, then we will be expressing a very important lesson to those that surround us who will also sometime, they will finally die too. Whenever I'm dying, the people that are around me are also going to die at some point. So like I said some weeks ago, the most important thing when I know I'm approaching death, the time has come, is to understand the resolute responsibility to die as the Buddha, to perceive my life correctly, and to express it at that crucial moment in a way that people around me can see and be inspired by. Okay? And that's life and death as functions of Myoho Renge-kyo, because that's what my life has been from the very beginning, and that's what it will always be. In short, he continues. Sorry to interject all that. In short, he continues in the first top of the page 52, first paragraph. In short, we can transform birth and death in the realm of delusion from the realm of common mortal into birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. Now, if we already entered this lifetime as Buddhas, that won't be a problem because we're going to do that automatically because that's why that's part of our e-ticket. Okay. This is because viewing the present moment as our last arises from a deep belief in and understanding of the principle of birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. We perceive and understanding. We perceive and understand why this is so important. All right? All right. Birth and death continuing on page 52. Everybody's with me so far, right? Birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood, which is the whole point of all of this. Citing the Lotus Sutra, Nichiren Daishonin asserts that one who summons up one's faith and chants Nam Myoho Renge-kyo with the profound insight that now is the last moment of one's life, which how do you achieve that understanding, that insight? What makes that insight occur that Nichiren just said? Summoning up profound faith. When one summons up one's faith and chants Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with the profound insight that now is the last moment of one's life, they will savor immense inner peace and tranquility at death, protected by 1,000 Buddhas. This is the meaning of a correct and steadfast moment. This is the meaning of a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. In other words, those who strive in faith with the spirit that now is one's last moment are on the path of attaining Buddhahood in this lifetime. Because essentially that's what it is. In the preceding passage, which we studied in the last installment, Nichiren explains that the essence of accepting and upholding Myoho Renge-kyo lies in believing and understanding that there is absolutely no difference or separation among Shakyamuni Buddha, who attained enlightenment countless kalpas ago, the Lotus Sutra that leads all people to Buddhahood, and we ordinary human beings. He then explains in the passage we are now studying that the crux of this belief and understanding is practicing with the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life. Did everybody follow that? Mm-hmm. The segue from one point to the next? Okay. To believe and understand that the Buddha, the law, and we ourselves, and what did that say? To believe and understand, because that's what he just described here. Right? Mm-hmm. He says, in the preceding passage we studied in the last installment, Nichiren explains that the essence of accepting and upholding Myoho Renge-kyo lies in believing and understanding. Right? Mm-hmm. Now he's saying to believe and understand, at the top of page 52, second column, first paragraph, full paragraph, to believe and understand that the Buddha, the law, and we ourselves are in no way different or separate from one another is to be convinced, based on our sincere daimoku and our study and our practice, is to be convinced that our own lives as entities of Myoho Renge-kyo are one with the Buddha and undergo the same birth and death as the Buddha, that is, experience birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood, which would mean what? We've accepted the reality that we are Buddhas as in our present form. We don't have to do anything to change. Mm-hmm. We're already Buddhas, which is what the teaching is saying over and over again, right? It's based on your faith. That's the only thing that keeps that door closed or opens it. It says, it means living with bright hope, Buddha nature, your high life condition. It means living with bright hope and optimism while making the revelation of the inherent Buddhahood in this lifetime our ultimate goal. Okay, what did that just say? It means living with the bright hope and optimism while making the revelation of our inherent Buddhahood in this lifetime our ultimate goal. What did that just say? We can be all happy and satisfied with our life and getting benefits and whatever, but we understand, but in that process, do we necessarily, in order to achieve or experience that, do we have to perceive ourselves as Buddhas in our present form? No, not yet. Not at all. Many people for years and years and years and years. But what he's saying here, listen to his words again. It means living with bright hope and optimism, which is what happens when you get up and chant Daimoku every day and do Gongyo. You live a life like that, right? Okay? While making the revelation of the inherent Buddhahood in this lifetime our ultimate goal. What's our ultimate goal?
Is to know that we are.
No. Not just for us to know it. That's what he's saying. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. This is key. This isn't about just you. All right? I'll read the words again. It means living with bright hope and optimism while making the revelation. What does revelation mean? While making the revealing of our inherent Buddha nature. What does inherent Buddha nature mean? Or inherent Buddhahood, it says. Pardon me.
Buddha.
Inherent means it was always a part of our life.
Yes.
By revealing the reality that we have always been the Buddha all along.
Right.
To inspire and validate to others that they are as well. That should be our ultimate goal in this lifetime. Okay? Not any benefit other than Buddhahood. and revealing that Buddhahood to others so that they can be inspired and learn from just knowing us and watching us. Do you understand? All right, so accordingly, those committed to practicing as Nichiren teaches, all right, which we qualify week to week to week to week, what that is. It's not as simple as one might think. It means with a lot of faith, okay, and as he says things are, okay. Accordingly, those committed to practicing as Nichiren teaches will naturally come to have the spirit that now is one's last moment, which is what happened to me. I felt that, I understood that before anybody taught it to me, as an outflow of what I was already reading that had to be the truth because it's the teaching of Nichiren. The moment of death, and I've got a star here, the moment of death represents a final accounting of this existence. What did that just say? A final accounting.
So as you live,
Yes.
you die.
As you live, you die. I love it. Yeah, exactly, Anik. The outcome of which is strictly decided. That's why he puts the word strictly in there. There won't be wiggle room. Cause and effect doesn't have latitude.
Right.
Cause and effect is the law, is the law, is the law, right?
Right.
Okay, so the moment of death, I'll go again, where the star is on page 52, right in the middle. The moment of death represents a final accounting of this existence, the outcome of which is strictly decided by how we have lived. Have we lived aspiring toward Buddhahood as the most important ultimate goal of our practice and faith? No, we just wanted to get benefits. You won't get there. You won't be here. Even after a lifetime of chanting, years and years and years, you won't be here if that's your outlook and that's the way you perceive the purpose of your faith. All right? The training wheels were training wheels. That was all they were for. They weren't to ride on a four-wheel bicycle for the rest of your life. Okay? They were to teach you balance, to teach you the skills, to give you the confidence that you didn't have to just count on two wheels while you were learning, right? He then poses the question, will we meet our last moment with immense satisfaction, filled with deep appreciation and free of all regret, fearless, that actual living example of someone dying the right way? Or will we meet the final curtain of this lifetime overwhelmed by self-regret? Oh, if I'd have known I was going to die now, I'd have done this. Oh, I wish I could have done that. I wish I would have changed that. That's the whole thing, this whole last moment of life deal. If you've got all that kind of shit inside you, you better frickin' do something about it now before the end of your life.
Right.
Okay? If you wait until the end of your life to start becoming reflective of how you live and who you are, and if you've grown and whether you're going to get there, you started way too late to have shown any sincerity or appreciation or real Buddha nature coming out of the process of practicing. Everybody with me? Okay, so he says, overwhelmed by regret and self-reproach. Self-reproach would be I should have been this way, I should have been that way. I can tell you when my friend Renee passed, he didn't think he didn't think he was going to pass until they said, you're on stage 5.
Right.
3, 4, 5 days, 4 days before he died. It was the first time I think he actually grasped, holy shit,
He's journey.
I'm not going to get out of this.
Yeah.
Okay? So, that's the point. As we grow older and as the years have accumulated in our practice, we should start to accumulate the wisdom to understand these very important points that only old wise people think about because they think about death in this way. A person's whole life is condensed into that last moment without any possibility of deception or concealment. Can't bullshit. You will not be able to act. If you've been an act all this time, if it hasn't really been the fundamental reality, if you really act like you chant a lot of Daimoku, act like you have a lot of faith, but you don't really chant a lot of Daimoku, which means you really don't have a lot of faith, that will come out and be shown at that last moment of life. And you will not make it because you can't make it by faking it.
Right.
You're either the Buddha at the end of your moment, at the end of your life, or you're not.
Right.
Okay? That's why. And so he says, since there's no second chances at that last moment of life for this lifetime, that's why President K said, this is crucial. Okay?
Right.
That's why it is crucial to live each moment to the fullest, especially if we want to be able to say, if I were to die right now, I would have no regret or dissatisfaction. My heart would be serene and tranquil. To strive in faith with the spirit that now is our last moment is to earnestly give our all in the present, determined to have no regrets, even if this moment should be our very last. So getting after those things of not expecting ourselves to have turned into some sort of perfection, that's not what I've been reading to you for all these years. This isn't about being perfect. This is about understanding the truth, all right, and behaving in a way that reflects that you do understand the truth. Okay? Everybody's with me?
Yeah.
Top of page 53, first column. A brilliant departure toward the next existence. From the Buddhist perspective of life and death, the last moment, in addition to being a final accounting of our present existence, is also the point of departure toward our next existence. I once saw evening fall over the Philippines' Manila Bay, which is said to have one of the most beautiful sunsets in the world. The sun sinking below the horizon dyed the sky a rich crimson, and the ocean a shimmering gold. It was truly sublime and majestic, like a great painting. A glorious sunset promises a dazzling sunrise the next day. For us who undergo birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood throughout eternity, the moment we pass from life to death is truly a brilliant departure toward our next existence. Our last moment could be like, pardon me, I've got indigestion. Our last moment could be likened to the summit of a mountain. A moment in which our entire experience of this life is this lifetime is condensed. It is also the most crucial and uncompromising event that determines the course of our next existence. What did he just say? He just talked about a beautiful, majestic view of the sunset in Manila, in the Philippines, all right? He's saying, our last moment can be like this. That is birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. Okay? Now he's qualifying. What did he just say in that last sentence I just read? It is also the most crucial and uncompromising event that determines the course of our next existence. What does crucial and uncompromising mean? It's absolutely the most important, and like I said, there are no do-overs.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
This is what you led yourself up to. If you screw it up, you screwed it up. All right? It won't be like nobody told you. Okay? With what state of mind will we greet our final moment? Is his question. A victorious life free of regret promises a peaceful and tranquil death, while a death imbued with deep satisfaction and fulfillment assures a hope-filled departure toward the next life. Our state of mind at the moment of death, which sums up how we have lived this existence, will become the cause that produces future effects.
Makes sense.
Totally makes sense. It's reality. That is the significance of having a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. You understand? It's the make or break of whether or not you're going to reappear as the Buddha, baby. To have a correct and steadfast mind at the last moment means maintaining right thought, unwavering faith and conviction in the mystic law, without losing serenity or composure, even in the face of death. Specifically, it indicates a mind that, on approaching death, feels deep satisfaction at having lived without regret and filled with unsurpassed joy at having embraced the mystic law. Now, what's going to bring that all to your mind when you're at the last moment of your life, whenever that actually is the reality that this is the last moment?
Joy.
Joy. But where does that joy come from?
Your faith.
That
and
constant
understanding.
contemplation and faith
Yes.
that this is the way you're living. You're living with this kind of thought all the time.
Yes.
This didn't just suddenly come as the epiphany at the end of your life, all right? This is how you lived every day. This is how you felt about every moment. This is how you experienced even the deepest shit. You knew it was going to turn because you're the Buddha. It always turns, right? Okay, so everybody's with me? He says, let's clarify the meaning and relationship between the spirit that now is one's last moment and a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. First, you guys getting off on this? I am. First, the spirit that now is one's last moment means living each moment and each day fully and without regret. Deeply aware of the significance of our last moment as a final accounting of this life. Deeply knowing that that's coming at some point in time, so I'm going to keep my shit together for sure now, right? In this sense, the wisdom and insight, which is what I just talked about, somebody think, I'm going to keep my shit together for sure now. That's Buddha wisdom, frankly, right. To the end of your life. And you understand, there are no do-overs. Okay? The wisdom and insight into life possessed by those who strive in faith with this spirit gives them confidence and determination and further fuels their vibrant hope and tireless actions. Because this didn't happen because you retired. You didn't retire and then there's no retirement. You understand, right? Okay. Vibrant hope, tireless actions. A correct and steadfast mind, in the middle of second column, page 53. A correct and steadfast mind, which is what we're striving for, right? At the moment of death, meanwhile, is derived as a natural course of striving earnestly in faith, day after day, month after month, year after year, with the spirit that now is one's last moment. So how do you pull this off? How do you pull off the correct attitude at the moment of death?
Faith.
Faith, but what precedes that with faith? That's how you behave every day prior to that. Every moment prior to that. You've already known that's what you're approaching, and you're preparing for it. Let me read it again. A correct and steadfast moment at the moment of death, meanwhile, is derived as a natural course. How do you get this correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death? You get it by correctly practicing in faith day after day, month after month, year after year. And you did all that with the teaching as the basis of how you're practicing, right? That teaching is that you should understand every day should be embraced with the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life. Okay? So you've been living like this for a long time before death actually is knocking as a reality. Get it?
Yes.
You're fully prepared just by living as the Buddha in your present form, because this is all what Buddhas do and think and feel as well. Even if you don't recognize yourself as that, that's what you're doing if you're being this way. You're already being the Buddha. Okay? He says, by doing so, we can forge and polish our lives and elevate our state of mind to become the Buddha in our present form. We can feel total confidence and satisfaction about how we have lived by reflecting our lives for what they are, the Buddha nature being expressed as a living entity, so that when the moment of death comes, we can make our way to Eagle Peak, which is nothing more than having that steadfast mind at the moment of death. As Nichiren says, peacefully and without regret, having chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo earnestly throughout life. Having chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo earnestly throughout life. Not BS every once in a while you open the Butsudan when friends come over. Okay? This is steadfast, day to day, month by month, year by year, practice and faith. This magnificent state of being is what it means to have a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. Okay, so he's just completely described it very clearly. Is everybody clearly what we're talking about now? It's not some abstract thing. It's really what we talk about every goddamn time we get together on a Wednesday. Because the entirety of the Daishonin's teachings is what is included and also associated with all this. Very simply, very last little paragraph on 53, second column. Very simply, our continual efforts and faith, based on the insight that now is the last moment of life, will ensure that we have a correct and steadfast moment at the moment of death. What did that just say? I've just told you how important this last moment is. And I've just told you there are no do-overs.
Right.
And I've just told you that you better have your shit together. This is the reason that we all practice for our whole lives. This is the crux of the whole thing, right?
Mm.
He's also saying, but don't freak out about whether or not you'll be prepared. And don't freak out and worry, will I have the right steadfast faith at the last moment of life? If you live this way, you automatically will. You don't have to worry about will I. Do you follow what he just said?
Yeah.
Very simply, our continual efforts, which is day by day, month by month, year after year, in faith, based on this insight that we're being encouraged in this teaching to embrace no matter how old we are.
Right.
Right now, this teaching is saying if you're 20 years old, you view every day as the last moment of your life. If you're 70 years old, you view every day as the last moment of your life. This is the correct perspective of faith. Very simply, our continual efforts in faith based on the insight that now is the last moment of our life will ensure that we have a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. We don't have to worry about fabricating that. And having a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death makes it possible for us to depart with a complete fulfillment and satisfaction toward the next life. Okay? And he says, now, why will that occur? That's what he's going to say next. Listen to this paragraph, another star. Living a good life, based on the insight that now is the last moment, assures us of dying a good death, based on a correct and steadfast mind at the final moment. And the final accounting of a good life, which is distinguished by correct and steadfast faith, becomes the starting point of another good life in our next existence. It's all a big circle. Okay? So what did he just say? What is all of this actually said as an underlying reality? Everything I've read up to this moment is saying the same thing. Cause and effect is absolute. Cause and effect is absolute. Why are you able to have the correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death? Because you live the correct life. Live a good life, have a good death. Cause and effect. That's what he's saying. Living a good life based on the insight that now is the last moment assures us of dying a good death based on a correct and steadfast mind at the final moment. And the final accounting of a good life, which is distinguished by correct and steadfast faith, becomes the starting point of another good life in our next existence. We'll attain Buddhahood forever from that point on. Those who live with the insight that now is one's last moment experience joy in both life and death. Nichiren Daishonin also talks, Nichiren Daishonin also talks about what happens after the death of a person who has carried through in faith with the insight that now is the last moment of one's life and succeeded in maintaining a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. We've done all the things we've been talking about. Here's what happens, he says. He writes, the Lotus Sutra proclaims that when the lives of these persons come to an end, they will be received into the hands of 1,000 Buddhas who will free them from all fear and keep them from falling into the evil paths of existence. How can we possibly hold back our tears at the inexpressible joy of knowing that not just one or two, not just 100 or 200, but as many as 1,000 Buddhas will come to greet us with open arms? Nichiren says that upon death, 1,000 Buddhas will greet and extend their hands to support and assist those dedicated in faith. In Nichiren's day, belief in the Pure Land Nembutsu school of Buddhism was widespread, I apologize again, was widespread in Japan. People were taught that if they chanted the name of Amida Buddha, then when they died, Amida and Bodhisattva, perceiver of the world sounds and great power, would come to greet them from the paradise of the Pure Land of perfect bliss in the West. This is why Nichiren goes out of his way to emphasize that practitioners of the Lotus Sutra will not simply be greeted by 1 or 2 Buddhas or even 100 or 200 Buddhas, but will rather be welcomed by 1,000 Buddhas. He likens this picture of 1,000 Buddhas extending their hands to the image of melons or moonflowers extending their vines. Contemplating such a wonderful scene, he declares, how can we possibly hold back our tears at the inexpressible joy? Both life and death are filled with joy. Joy continues unbroken and unceasing, whether one is moving from life to death or from death to life. This is birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. The realm of Buddhahood in death is what he just described, right? At the opposite extreme of the joy of Buddhahood is the hellish state of life of those who reject and slander the mystic law. Nichiren writes concerning one who disbelieves the Lotus Sutra, because the sutra states when his life comes to an end, he will enter the Avicii hell. The wardens of hell will surely come for one and take one away by the hands. The Lotus Sutra explains that those who disbelieve and slander the law will fall into the Avicii hell, or the hell of incessant suffering. Nichiren also says that the 10 kings will pass judgment on them, and that the heavenly messengers who have been with them since birth will berate them for their evil deeds. Big star here.
Yeah.
Naturally, the 10 kings and heavenly messengers are an expression of the uncompromising and inexorable workings of the law of cause and effect inherent in our lives. Okay? The devilish functions are not entities themselves. They're experiences. Okay? In essence, no one can escape the severe reckoning of good and evil in terms of this fundamental law. That is, the final accounting of one's life, the end result of the karma one has created over the course that is the final accounting of one's life, the end result of the karma one has created over the course of a lifetime. Regarding birth and death in the 10 worlds, we can experience birth and death in any of the worlds from hell through Buddhahood. Of course, as entities of the mutual possession of the 10 worlds, it is possible for us to change our state of life during the course of our present lifetimes. But it is inevitable that the predominant state of life of the 10 worlds we have established as the outcome of this existence will carry over into our next existence. Everybody's with me? That's why it's vital that we fundamentally transform our state of life while we're still alive. Not theoretically, actually. We can understand the potentiality of Buddhahood, but if we never actualize it, we won't leave with it actualized. Okay? We'll be facing the same challenge in the next lifetime of trying to actualize it. If we actualize it in this lifetime, it will absolutely actualize in the next. That's the point. Deepening our perspective at the bottom of first column, page 55. Deepening our perspective on life and death leads to deepening our own lives. Josei Toda, the second Soka Gakkai president, often said, in truth, we practice faith for the time of our death. The essence of any religion is found in the way it views life and death. The importance of accumulating treasures of the heart at the bottom of page 55, first column. Here, let's clarify some key points to avoid any misunderstanding about what we've discussed so far. First, when we speak of practicing faith with the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life, certainly it isn't meant as a glorification of death. We're not sitting there going, come on, death. Now's the last moment of my life. I'm cool with it. Come on, death. I want to get out of all this shit I have to deal with all the time. Come on, death. That's not what we're saying. I'm not afraid of death. I'm going to be the Buddha. I am the Buddha. No, that's not what we're talking. If you're the Buddha, then you're never seeking death. Okay? So he says, first, when we speak of practicing faith with the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life, certainly it isn't meant as a glorification of death. On the contrary, its true meaning is that we live life to the fullest with all our might to the very end. With all our might to the very end. We don't sit there and go, okay, I'm kicking, see you later. We experience death in the way that is able to inspire others. Do you understand? All right, so we live life to the fullest with all our might to the very end. Buddhism is definitely not a teaching of martyrdom that encourages us to recklessly discard our lives or treat them as something of little value. I'll just be born again, no biggie. That isn't how we view it. At the same time, we should by no means succumb to thinking that since Buddhism views life and death as a cycle and will be reborn anyway, it's okay for us to choose death as a means to escape the painful struggles of daily life. Right?
Suicide?
Suicide, or there are a lot of ways to, quite often. We characterize or view suicide as something that's an overt action in a given moment. But you can commit suicide in lots of ways that aren't overt and are not diagnosed or called suicide. I could have never stopped drinking. Okay, I could have drunk, and I'd have died from it some way. I'd have fallen off a ladder, had a car wreck, maybe cirrhosis of the liver. There's a million ways to die as an alcoholic. They're not always called dying of alcoholism, but you died of alcoholism regardless. Okay, that's the same thing he's talking about here, is the reality that, okay, we should by no means succumb to thinking that since Buddhism views life and death as a cycle and would be reborn anyway, it's okay for us to choose death as a means to escape painful struggles of daily life. I couldn't just keep drinking knowing it was going to kill me, okay, in order to deal with what I had to deal with.
Right.
Okay? I had to value my life and not want to die.
Right.
Okay? When I was drinking, I didn't give a shit if I died. Frankly, that was part of that outlook that I had at that time.
Right.
Right? I could give a shit. I'm fine. I'm handled. Okay? So that's what it's saying. It says to discount the possibility of changing one's karma in this lifetime is to doubt and disbelieve one's boundless potential as a human being. So what is this whole paragraph where he says first? Let me reread it again. It's that important. First, when we speak of practicing faith with the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life, certainly it isn't meant as a glorification of death. On the contrary, its true meaning is that we live life to the fullest with all our might to the very end. Buddhism is definitely not a teaching of martyrdom that encourages us to recklessly discard our lives or treat them as something of little value. We're supposed to learn and treat them and understand them to be of the greatest value. There's no greater value.
Right.
At the same time, we should by no means succumb to thinking that, since Buddhism views life and death as a cycle and will be reborn anyway, it's okay for us to choose death as a means to escape the painful struggles of life. That's any escapism that's going to ruin you and lead you to death. To discount the possibility of changing one's karma in this lifetime is to doubt and disbelieve one's boundless potential as a human being. What did that last sentence say, George? Wake up! It says, to discount the possibility of changing one's karma in this lifetime is to doubt and disbelieve one's boundless potential as a human being. Why did he stick that in there?
If
Because
you have faith, you believe that.
what
you
he's
can
saying
change
is that
your
a lot
own
of people have such difficulty and suffering that they're experiencing as suffering. Okay, those difficulties are creating a sense of suffering and despair. That they don't. Life has less value. They don't. Death would be a relief.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So he's saying that if you give up on yourself, if you're saying, I might as well go ahead and not worry about this lifetime, I might as well get a start on my next life. I screwed this one up so goddamn bad. I really just, there's no way I'm going to change who I am now at this late stage into who I really need to be. But see, that's bullshit.
Right.
Because the realization of the truth is all you really need. You don't need to overcome all the karma from the past deeds that you've made. That's flipping. We're flipping at that point in time. The realization allows you to flip. You don't have to go through 10 lifetimes of undoing all that shit. So that's what he's saying. He's saying to discount the possibility of changing one's karma. To say, I couldn't change it. I can't change my karma. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is not powerful enough to pull me out of this hole. I can't become happy. I've already screwed myself up so bad. How could I? I've already made the cause to be like this. You accept all that shit. You've been chanting for 20 years. It's all upside down. You don't sit there and change. You just accept it and stay in the pile of shit you've been sitting in for the last 5 years, which is why you have that life condition. Okay? You don't live like this anymore. You don't view the Gohonzon as being all-powerful. I haven't gotten those kinds of benefits for 20 years. Why? Because you've had upside-down bullshit attitude faith for 20 years.
Yes.
The Gohonzon didn't change in its all-powerfulness. You changed. Okay? That's what he's talking about.
Yes.
That's what he's talking about. We don't give up to the last moment of our life, and we don't give up life to the last moment that we can hold on to it.
Right.
And we do it as Buddhists, and we do it on a basis of this teaching. Everybody's with me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the second point concerns, and again, I couldn't say any of the shit that I just did had I not gone through the shit that I went through.
Right.
Okay? So, living through shit is not a bad thing. If you come out on the other side with wisdom that you can afford the opportunity to somebody to maybe not have to deal with everything you did by understanding what they're not going to get to had you not gotten to it first and beat it.
Right.
If you don't beat it, there's no living example for those other people that are struggling to know they can beat it too.
Right.
To have that sense of guarantee. It's not 700-year-old words. It's right now, this moment, I'm beating it. Every moment of my life, I'm beating it.
Right.
The second point concerning having a correct and steadfast moment at the moment of death. Some people might worry if someone who has died through accident or illness has actually attained Buddhahood. Your dad, George. Okay, this is for you. The second point concerning having a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. Some people might worry if someone who has died through accident or illness has actually attained Buddhahood. Now, if you read Nichiren Shoshu's practices and premises, it will not relate to what he's going to say here. Okay? But it is faith alone that determines whether one has a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. Do you understand that? You don't have to worry about the fact that they died, how they died. They are the ones that created the last moment of their death through their actions. Okay? So if you know that they were good people, you don't have to worry how they died as being some indication, oh, you didn't attain Buddhahood, or oh, you fell short. You follow? Do you follow? Okay. But it is faith alone that determines whether one is a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death. Those who dedicated themselves earnestly to faith and gave their all until the very end are definitely on the path of birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. That's the important thing. Whatever form their death takes, President Ikeda says, they will be sure to have a correct and steadfast mind at their last moment. In light of Nichiren Daishonin's teachings, there is not the slightest doubt that such people, by virtue of the good fortune and benefit they have accumulated through working for Kosen Rufu, will experience a final moment of great victory on the deepest level of life. The Nirvana Sutra warns bodhisattvas to fear not the destruction of their bodies, not death, but the destruction of their minds, the basis of their faith. Because if their minds are destroyed, they will fall into the three evil paths. In this regard, the sutra cautions they should be especially aware of evil friends who can destroy their faith. That's more important to be aware of and be protecting yourself from than worrying about people that might kill you, actually. A life that has been forged in the struggle. What does that say again? A life that has been forged in the struggle for Kosen Rufu is indestructible. Based on the Buddhist principle of the oneness of life and death, those who have accumulated the treasures of the heart, the three kinds of treasure, have already cultivated the state of life with which to attain Buddhahood. Through the good fortune and benefit they have gained as a result of persevering, which means never giving up, no matter how hard it got, in their mission for Kosen Rufu, taking on the role and identity as being a bodhisattva of the earth, striving for widespread propagation, they experience a magnificent life and death, setting them on a course where they can forever undergo birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. Nichiren Buddhism offers a hope-filled view of life and death that makes it possible for all people to lead lives imbued with eternity, happiness, true self, and purity. It enables us to advance and win across past, present, and future. We should have strong confidence in this. Mugi washi, baby. Profound insight means a deep inner awareness. At the bottom of page 56, we're almost there, folks. Returning to the start of the quotation we are studying this time, we find the passage with the profound insight that now is the last moment of one's life. Here, profound insight means belief and understanding or resolute faith. It means realizing deep in our hearts that our own birth and death are inherently birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. One could say that all who work tirelessly for Kosen Rufu and the SGI already possess this realization in the depths of their lives, because there's no separation between that and being a bodhisattva of the earth, being a Buddha, right? Precisely because life is eternal, we must exert ourselves wholeheartedly in the present. Taking action based on this deep awareness is what it means to possess the profound insight that now is the last moment of one's life. It's this moment's actions that show that you actually understand that. Overcoming obstacles and devilish functions. In our discussion on practicing with the spirit that now is one's last moment and having a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death, we must not overlook the fact that both are crucial aspects of faith in battling obstacles and devilish functions. Okay? So it's not, the same thing that you're going to apply to your daily life up to the moment of death is the same thing you're going to apply at the moment of death. We must not let me start again. In our discussion on practicing with the spirit that now is one's last moment and having a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death, this important part of preparation for the last moment of your life, he's saying we must not overlook the fact that both are crucial, that those same elements are crucial aspects of faith in battling obstacles and devilish functions as you do every day in your daily life right now, right? So he says this isn't about something that you're going to actualize and put effort into that'll only be good at the end of your life. You nail this, you nail it, you use it every day. It's not just at the end of your life. It's just by the end of your life, you better have this part down. Okay? He says, we must not overlook the fact are both crucial aspects of faith in battling obstacles and devilish functions. Because having a correct and steadfast mind at one's final moment also means overcoming the devil or hindrance of death, like we do every day, those devilish functions that screw with us. Okay? Incessantly. Those who habitually avoid, this is an important teaching, listen to this. Starred. Those who habitually avoid confronting the 3 obstacles and 4 devils in their daily lives will be utterly unable to defeat the hindrance of death, the most daunting of all obstacles. Do you understand what he just said there, though? What is this habitually avoid confronting the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils in their... What's the only way for you to habitually avoid confronting 3 obstacles and 4 devils? Sancho Shima. What is the only way you can avoid Sancho Shima, habitually avoid Sancho Shima?
Can go on, can live.
No. No. The only way to habitually... When do the 3 obstacles and 4 devils appear? That's the key. That's the point that you should understand. As you're actually progressing in faith toward the realization of Buddhahood.
Right.
3 obstacles and 4 devils don't happen to anybody that's not progressing.
Right.
They're to hinder your progress. Okay? How do you habitually avoid that then? By never progressing. Never progressing.
I want benefits. I want benefits.
Yes.
I want benefits. Well, that sounds interesting. I wonder if that's true.
That's not faith. Okay? That's how you habitually avoid the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils, because the 3 obstacles and 4 devils appear, and then what are you going to do? You got to suck it up and beat them and defeat them. You don't go,
Oh, I had something bad happen, so Gohonzon must not work anymore.
that's not the teaching. Right? Okay? The only way for that to be is if you didn't study, if you never progressed. Those who habitually avoid, because it's a drag to do human revolution. Trust me, I tried to avoid it for as long as I could. At the beginning of my practice, because I saw what everybody was going through, and they said, oh, the human revolution, shit on me. I'm like, put that shit off until the end of my deal. Okay? Seriously, I did. So I got benefit, but couldn't avoid having to overcome that, though. It was only worse. I had to deal with all the problems I did in my midlife instead of getting accomplished at the beginning. Okay, those who habitually avoid confronting the 3 obstacles and 4 devils in their daily life will be utterly unable to defeat the hindrance of death, the most daunting of all obstacles. The essence of practicing with the spirit that now is one's last moment is to not be beguiled or frightened by the workings of devilish functions. For that reason, and why aren't you frightened? Because of your faith. Okay? For that reason, we must summon forth the faith, wisdom, and courage and life force to confront them. One who has battled and completely triumphed over all devilish functions is a Buddha. Ka-ching! Put another way, a Buddha is one who has conquered the most formidable of the four devils, the hindrance of the devil king, and the hindrance of death. Now, I can't do that till the end of my life, but I've kicked the devil king's ass innumerable times. And has attained a state of deathlessness. Why does he say a state of deathlessness? It's not eternal life as an entity, as a singular, but again, it's based on the enlightenment to the eternity of life. In other words, you will always be born in the realm of birth and death, in the realm of Buddhahood. At the time of the Tatsunokuchi persecution, Shijo Kingyo was ready to protect Nichiren Daishonin to the very end. Does everybody remember this? What did he say? This is after they had finally gotten to Tatsunokuchi, but he had already stopped at Hachiman's shrine and said, "Hachiman, it's your ass if they pull this off." Right? So they get to Tatsunokuchi, and what does Shijo Kingyo say? He's going to quote him here in a second. Do any of you remember? This is what makes the Tatsunokuchi. This is what makes Tatsunokuchi so cool. What was the Daishonin's attitude, and what was Shijo Kingyo's attitude?
Shijo Kingyo cried.
He cried. He's going, now is the last moment. Now is your last moments. And Nichiren's going, dude, are you not remembering anything that I taught you? What could be better? If they can kill me, I'm losing my life for the sake of the law, for the Lotus Sutra. This is the best way a person can die. Okay? And he says, and they may not pull it off. You're assuming that they're going to be able to kill me. He says, Nichiren Daishonin to the very end, even at the risk of his own life, and yet as the execution appeared imminent. Here, pardon. At the time of the bottom of page 56, second column. At the time of the Tatsunokuchi persecution, Shijo Kingyo was ready to protect Nichiren Daishonin to the very end, even at the risk of his own life. He was willing to be executed with him as his disciple. Okay? To be, my master you kill my master, you got to kill me. Right? Even at the risk of his own life, and yet as the execution appeared imminent, he cried out tearfully, "These are your last moments." Okay? Though probably out of concern for his mentor, Shijo Kingyo may have given way to fear at seeing this remorseless attack by devilish functions. Nichiren instantly responded with a powerful lion's roar. I won't be able to not cry. You don't understand. What greater joy could there be? These words, epitomizing a correct and steadfast mind in the face of imminent death, sum up the supreme essence of the life and death of a Buddha. Nichiren fought head-on against the insidious devilish forces that assailed him, triumphing over the hindrance of death and the hindrance of the devil king. The world of Buddhahood is established in the lives of those who fight with this spirit, and that should be your spirit.
Right.
You're no different than Nichiren Daishonin.
Right.
You're no different. Everywhere in the orally transmitted teachings, he's going to say, you and me, we're the same.
Right.
Okay? So the way he approached death, the way he had, the attitude he reflected at that crucial moment is the attitude we should as well. So we should not fear it.
Right.
What greater death could there be than the one that I'm going to die right now thinking about Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, trying to uphold Nam-myoho, even if I'm dying in bed from illness rather than something so gallant as, being led to an execution ground or something like that. It's our concern for others, even at the last moment of our life, okay, that carries this over. Why did Nichiren is saying to Shijo, watch me. He doesn't know what's going to happen to him. For sure, the bright light hasn't come out yet. But he's saying, no, have the right attitude. He's still trying to teach Shijo Kingyo, even though he's about to have his head cut off, for Christ's sake. Nichiren urges his disciples struggling amid great persecution, strengthen your faith day by day and month after month. Should you slacken in your resolve even a bit, devils will take advantage, and they will. Faith that grows stronger day by day and month after month corresponds to faith based on the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life. Faith of this sort enables us to ward off and defeat devilish functions. Mr. Lee, we can do magic as common mortals, bro. Those stories don't have nothing on the shit I pulled in my own life. You want to know about magic. You can be as magic as you could ever imagine anyone could be, you yourself, with the correct faith. But that takes faith and practice, not understanding. It's not based on you knowing a bunch of shit. It's what you do. So, bro, you want magic? You can have magic, but you got to be magical. The opposite of this is a slackening resolve and fear of devilish functions, which is not how we live as Buddhists. If our Buddha nature is activated, we don't live that way. We see and understand that. As indicated by the passage, they will be received into the hands of 1,000 Buddhas. Those who have a correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death will be instantly greeted by innumerable Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and heavenly deities, the protective functions of the universe. It is vital that we always remember, though, that this is brought about only as a result. This isn't some guarantee like heaven. This isn't Christianity. This wasn't just about understanding or believing. If you believe, then you act. It's about action. This is brought about only as a result of our own efforts in faith to combat evil and realize good. The powerful life force of Buddhahood wells forth in the lives of those who possess such a fighting spirit. For 6 decades, I have striven unceasingly for Kosen Rufu with the resolve that now is the last moment of my life. When I was young, I suffered from poor health and might have died at any time. That is why I fought to support and protect President Toda with that vigorous resolve that now is the last moment of my life. I also rose up and battled single-handedly against the onslaught of obstacles and devilish functions besetting my mentor. Later, based on my conviction that spreading the Buddhist view of the eternity of life is indispensable to the goal of world peace, I summoned up all my courage and intellectual resources and embarked on the task of creating peace around the globe. Because we of the SGI have striven in faith with the spirit that now is our last moment, the original life force from time without beginning has welled up forth within our lives. And I firmly believe that we have built the SGI into the global organization it is today because we have advanced together harmoniously in the spirit of many in body but one in mind. Countless SGI members, page 58, have vigorously scaled the challenges of life and reached the brilliant summit of their final moment with a correct and steadfast mind of faith, having practiced throughout their lifetimes with the spirit that now is one's last moment. The triumph of their great human revolution is actual proof that the heritage of the ultimate law of life and death flows vibrantly throughout the SGI. And I'm going to go ahead and read page 59. Anybody, Mr. Lee, I'm not going to get to your answers this week. I'll have to wait until next week. Sorry. Birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. To believe and understand that the Buddha, the law, and we ourselves are in no way different or separate from one another is to be convinced that our own lives as entities of Myoho Renge-kyo are one with the Buddha and undergo the same birth and death as the Buddha. That is, experience birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. It means living with bright hope and optimism while making the revelation of the inherent Buddhahood in this lifetime our ultimate goal. Accordingly, those committed to practicing as Nichiren teaches will naturally come to have the spirit that now is the last moment of one's life. The importance of accumulating treasure in the heart. A life that has been forged in the struggle for Kosen Rufu is indestructible. Based on the Buddhist principle of the oneness of life and death, those who have accumulated the treasures of the heart have already cultivated the state of life with which to attain Buddhahood. Through the good fortune and benefit they have gained as a result of persevering in their mission for Kosen Rufu, they experience a magnificent life and death, setting them on a course where they can forever undergo birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. Overcoming obstacles and devilish functions. The essence of practicing with the spirit that now is one's last moment is to not be beguiled or frightened by the workings of devilish functions. For that reason, we must summon forth the faith, wisdom, courage, and life force to confront them. One who has battled and completely triumphed over all devilish functions is a Buddha. Put another way, a Buddha is one who has conquered the most formidable of the 4 devils. the hindrance of the devil king and the hindrance of death, and has attained a state of deathlessness based on the on enlightenment to the eternity of life. Dialogue and reflection are two things that make you go, A correct and steadfast mind at the moment of death, meanwhile, is derived as a natural course of striving earnestly in faith day after day, month after month, year after year, with the spirit that now is one's last moment. Question: how do you cultivate that correct and steadfast state of mind? 2, the essence of any religion is found in the way it views life and death. Question: what then is the essence of Nichiren Buddhism? And that's it until next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.